Welcome to the C-Suite Series presented by Channelchek and Noble Capital Markets. Noble is an SEC-registered FINRA-licensed broker-dealer and the source of the equity research available on Channelchek. Of the 6,000 small and microcap companies listed on the site, today we're featuring Kratos Defense and Security Solutions. Joe Gomes, Noble Senior Research Analyst covering the company, will be interviewing President and CEO Eric DeMarco. Afterwards, he will be joined by Michael Kopinski, Noble's Director of Research, to discuss the key takeaways. As a reminder, Joe's research is available at no cost on Channelchek. Just type in Kratos in the top left Company Data section. And now, here's Joe and Eric.
With us today is Eric DeMarco, President and CEO of Kratos Defense and Security Solutions. Good afternoon, Eric, and thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today.
Kratos develops and fields transformative, affordable systems, platforms, and products for national security and communications needs. For those in the audience unfamiliar with Kratos, can you talk a little bit about the company's history, what the company does, and some of the clients you support?
Absolutely. Back in 2008, 2009, we made a decision with the change in administration and the focus, the Pacific pivot, and the focus away from asymmetric warfare on strategic threats and nation states, to focus the company on products and technologies to address those threats. And from 2010 to 2012, we made a series of acquisitions in the drone, the missile defense, the electronic warfare, and the training system areas. We integrated the businesses from 2013 until 2015, and then we started executing on the plan to deliver these systems, with the key piece, Joe, always being affordability. We wanted to be an affordable provider because it doesn't matter what budgets are, there's always going to be the need for quantities.
It's an interesting background. You often comment on how Kratos uses leading edge as opposed to bleeding edge technology. What's the difference and how does this help Kratos?
Right. So when we say we're going to use leading edge technology, we're using proven technology. We integrate it into a system to deliver something. I'll give you an example. So in our ballistic missile target area, we use proven existing solid rocket booster technology. We're experts at system integration. We integrate 1, 2, 3 of these motors together to put the right payload in the right place at the right time at the right speed. By using that proven technology and not developing an entire new rocket motor in this example, we save time, the technology risk is less, its affordability is guaranteed because we're using proven systems. And in addition to that, it de-risks it both from a schedule and a financial standpoint. You compare that with bleeding edge technology, something that's never been done before. We look at that as higher risk with a lot of additional schedule risk. And part of our strategic thesis is to be able to, within 3 years, design, demonstrate, and field something.
Interesting. Now, unmanned systems, aka drones, target, tactical, Skyborg, Gremlins, Thanatos. Can you give us a rundown of what Kratos is doing here? What sort of opportunities exist? How big is the market? What's the competitive advantage here? What sort of milestones should we be looking for on these programs?
Right. So hopping back to one of your first questions, in 2010, and then it was updated in 2012, the Pentagon came out with this unmanned system strategic roadmap. And that roadmap, you can still Google it today, it basically indicated that by 2020, the US and the allies would need jet drones that could perform and survive their mission in contested airspace. At the time in 2010, 11, and 12, 99% of the drones were propeller planes, because we owned the sky taking on terrorists in asymmetric warfare. So what we did is we took a play out of a playbook in the 60s with Ryan Aeronautical, where they took target drones. So a target drone is an unmanned aerial vehicle that's designed to operate, say, like a Chinese threat or a Russian threat, a Russian MiG. They go up against the U.S. fighters, so the U.S. fighters can practice air-to-air combat against them and operational readiness. We took those target drones that typically carry payloads like flares and decoys and countermeasures, and we put tactical systems on them. So we took back to our thesis on taking proven technology. We took proven target drones. We modified them to carry tactical payloads. The first one was DeMarco. Then we had a second one that is still, it's not public. That led to, in 2016, the LCAS-D, the low-cost aerial attritable demonstrator program came out. We won that. Gremlins came out. We won that. And so these are low-cost aircraft that are designed to be able to augment manned aircraft, loyal wingmen, if you will, both in the ISR area, the electronic warfare area, and the kinetic area. And what we're doing here is we're addressing now what we believe is a very large market area, driven by just a handful of programs that have come out. The Skyborg program. That Skyborg program is an artificial intelligence program that is focused on loyal wingmen drones. The Golden Horde program is now out. This is another U.S. Air Force Vanguard program. Both Skyborg and Gremlins, and Golden Horde are Vanguard programs. The Air Force has said we want to field something within 3 years. Golden Horde, hordes of drones, hordes of powered munitions heading towards something. The Advanced Battle Management System program has come out, ABMS. This is coined as the Internet of Things, connecting together drones, etc. All of these programs are pointing to this type of high-performance jet drone that can perform its mission in a contested environment, keeping the manned aircraft out of harm's way. And this opportunity just continues to grow. And Kratos, with the only 4 drones of this type flying today in this class, we believe we are very well positioned to get a good part of this market.
Now, when you say they're low cost, can you give an example of what one of these tactical drones cost?
Sure. So I'll go through our suite. So our Airwolf drone, and this is a derivative of one of our target drones. It's around $400,000 to $500,000 each. This is a jet drone, very high performance, very low LCS, an exceptional drone. The Mako, also a derivative from one of our target drones. This one comes from our Air Force target drone, the BQM-167. This is about $1.5 million each. Bigger than the Airwolf, more capable, can carry more payloads, and can do some different things that are meeting some customer requirements. Gremlins is anywhere, depending on configuration, from $700,000 to $1.5 million an airplane. The Gremlins is a reusable drone. So this one right now is configured for ISR, EW, but it's meant to be air launched from air platforms and then recovered back inside currently a C-130 in flight, a flying aircraft carrier. So think $700,000 to $1.5 million. Then there's the Valkyrie, our largest one that we can publicly talk about at high rate quantities. This is 3 to 4 million each, off the line, fly away. And so right now we are hitting that sweet spot, say from $500,000 to 5 million each, which is right where the Air Force has defined they're looking to hit attritables, reusables, and disposables.
Okay, thanks for that. And one of the advantages you've talked about before is that your drones in many cases are runway independent. What do you mean by that? And how is that an advantage for Kratos?
Right. We look at this as a key differentiator for us. So our drones are all launched off of a rail. So think of a rail that's as long as the plane. So the Valkyrie, let's say the Valkyrie is 30 foot long. It's a 30-foot rail. The rail goes up. Some RATO bottles, rocket assist takeoff bottles, propel it forward. Off it goes, and then it lands via parachute. So it does not need to be tied to a runway. It can be launched from a golf course. It can be launched from a beach off of an island. Our biggest one, the Valkyrie, and all of them can fit inside a standard shipping container. So the door opens, the wings clip on, off it goes. We've been working very close with our partner, the U.S. Air Force, on this. They, one of their number one requests for us for the past 3 years is to make our drones runway independent, because if we get into a peer-on-peer conflict, the fear is that the runways are going to be very, very busy, or they're going to be under stress. And runway independence and distributed lethality is a critical request of our customer set.
Sounds like a exciting area to be in, that's for sure. Space is another area in which there are significant growth opportunities. Can you tell us what is happening in the space business and why investors should be excited here?
Yes. So Kratos is focused on the ground segment of space. Think command and control and TT&C, telemetry, tracking, and control. We're the industry leader. Kratos's products were designed in on approximately 80% of all U.S. space missions, communicating with them. These are modems, antennas, command and control systems. There is a disaggregation going on in the space industry, where heretofore the big primes that would deliver the space system, the satellite, they would get the vast majority of the ground equipment relative to that satellite, because these satellites were geosynchronous orbit satellites. There was dedicated ground equipment to them, very monolithic systems, very, very capable. This is now moving to MEOs, mid-Earth orbit, and LEOs, low Earth orbit satellites, both from a latency and a redundancy reduction area because they're closer to the Earth, but also the modems and the communication systems are becoming software-defined radios, if you will, software-defined communication systems. And the customers, the operators and the system provider, the system guys, they're disaggregating, buying the ground equipment just from the space guys. There are separate solicitations now coming out that we're being able to bid on for the ground equipment. So the market is expanding significantly for us. That's on the military side. Now on the commercial side, 5G. This has become just recently a very large opportunity for us, because if you're following this, many of the commercial space operators, think like an Intelsat or an SES, they have 5G spectrum. And there's been negotiation and agreements between the Pentagon, the FCC, and these commercial providers to free up some of that spectrum that the satellite providers have today for 5G terrestrial use. Our biggest clients, in addition to the Air Force or the operators, is SES, for example, and Intelsat. We're working with them on this 5G, which is going to be a relocation of their customers out of certain bandwidth, okay, to new bandwidth, which is driving new satellites, new ground equipment, and that's where we come in. So that is a very good opportunity for us, because it's existing customers with proven technology. And then the third area is, for example, what guys like Microsoft is doing with Azure in their global cloud network. And they want to be able to connect that global cloud into the LEOs and into the MEOs. So guys like me, if I'm sitting somewhere and I, for example, want to take a look at a ship out at sea for oil, how deep in the water it is, so I can make a financial decision, I can real time, because the satellite will be out there. It'll take a look at it. It'll maybe do a laser signal over to another satellite that's over land. Now it wants to go to the ground. That's where the Kratos antenna and the modem comes in. We take that analog signal, we convert it to IP protocol. It goes into, my example, Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. Now me at my desk, real time, I can see all that and use it. In addition, the LEOs are also bringing redundancy and distributed capability to the military. This is all driving new ground equipment and new antennas. Those are the opportunities.
Very exciting. And then you also talk a lot about hypersonics, ballistic missile targets, missile defense, radar, turbine engines, where you made an acquisition in that space. So many areas in which Kratos is addressing the ongoing recapitalization of strategic weapon systems by the U.S. and the allies. Can you pick out a few highlights here and what they could mean for Kratos?
One of the primary highlights I'd like to pick out is in the engine area. This type of engine, these turbojets and turbofans, this technology is from the 60s and 70s. It was used in the production runs on the Reagan buildup in the 80s. Then the wall came down in 91, asymmetric warfare began, and there was really no demand signal by the government customer to upgrade that technology, those missiles. And think missiles, drones, powered munitions, they all use this same class of turbojet or turbofan. Government customers started approaching Kratos a few years ago, saying, we need new technology here, we need affordability, we need someone disruptive like Kratos to lead this, because it's well known, the small and mid-sized guys like us, we're the affordable guys. So we made two key acquisitions in the past couple of years. One was Florida Turbine, FTT down in Florida, another was TDI. These are two of the primary and preeminent technology companies in this engine area. We publicly have disclosed, we have engines running on two systems that have been reported. Not by us, but it's been reported. One is with the Gray Wolf cruise missile, and the other one is the Speed Racer system of Lockheed Martin out of their Skunk Works. I can't tell you the names. We are designed in on a number of other systems that hopefully we're going to be able to disclose to the public soon. And our vision is probably in 22, 23, our engines, we're going to start getting designed in on drones and powered munitions and cruise missiles. And this is going to be the next big growth driver for Kratos, because on drones and on cruise missiles, typically 35% of the cost of the system is the engine. And so we're looking to disrupt this engine area, similar that we've done in the tactical drone area, so the customers now can get more quantities at reduced cost.
Interesting, very interesting there. Lots of opportunities. And at the end of the third quarter, Kratos had a backlog of $873 million, up from $683 million at the end of the second quarter, and a bid and proposal pipeline that's grown to $8.3 billion. What are some of the key factors driving this growth?
Most recently, two of the key factors are target drones. So these are the drones you and I were talking about at the beginning of the discussion here. These are the drones where we are sole source with our systems to the three largest target drone users in the world: U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army. And as the branches and the services acquire and procure new weapon systems and new radars, they need to exercise them against threat representative targets. That's what Kratos provides. And very few people think of it this way. This is the razor and the razor blade system, because what do target drones, what happens to them? They get shot down, and then we sell more of them. This is why we're making such a big investment in the target drone area right now, to get our infrastructure out there. We're going to make big investments again in 21, because once our infrastructure is out there, the ground equipment to launch it, command and control it, and recover it, that is, in my mind, is a very important strategic asset for us. So target drones are driving one thing. The other area that drove it on the last quarter was ground-based strategic deterrent. Northrop Grumman has announced that Kratos is on their team for the ground-based strategic deterrent. We are going to be providing very sophisticated ground transport systems for the missiles and warheads and other things. This is going to be, as it moves forward, one of the largest programs in Kratos' history, several hundred millions of dollars.
It's nice to see that type of growth, I'm sure. And we touched about this briefly, but the company has completed a couple of acquisitions over the past 12 to 18 months. Can you talk a little bit about your M&A strategy? What's the opportunity? Where's the company focusing? And what are you comfortable with from a size and leverage perspective?
Right. We are not an acquisitive company, and we have not been since 2012. You're right. We've made a couple of what I'll call small tuck-ins recently, none of which were an auction. They were a negotiated deal. Our strategy is organic growth and to focus on the very large program opportunities we've won and the ones we're going to win. However, as I indicated, if there's an opportunity that is exactly in the area that we're doing today, we're not going to get into anything else, where we know the company, we know the management team, and or we know the ownership, it provides us additional technology capability or customer access, we are going to look at it. And if financially it makes sense, we're going to do it.
Okay, sounds like a plan. One potential hiccup here, the federal government is currently operating under a continuing resolution budget. What does this mean and how is it impacting Kratos?
Right. So under CRA, as you probably know, there are no new contract awards and there are no increases in existing production on existing production awards. So the good news is let's take the target drone area just as an example. In the target drone area, we have a number of programs that right now are in low rate initial production that are going to be moving to full rate production over the next few years. We need the next year's fiscal budget in order to move into full rate production. And so right now, very specifically on the 2021 budget, which is currently in a CRA, we need the 21 budget to be approved by Congress and signed by the president so we can get that next leg of funding that'll move us to full rate production for the increased quantities. We have a number of programs like that across the company. So good news is we have many new programs that are either going to go into production or see increased production. The bad news is that extended CRAs do move things to the right for us and could slow down our growth in the near term.
Well, we'll hope that gets passed soon.
Yes. Yes.
Obviously, one of the big issues this year has been COVID. Can you talk about how the global pandemic has impacted your operations, what you've done and what you are doing to combat the pandemic?
Yes. So similar to most, if not all, businesses in the defense industry. We've been impacted by we do the social distancing, of course. So in the manufacturing facilities, we've initiated additional shifts so people can spread out. That leads to inefficiencies, et cetera. The work at home guidelines, we're following them wherever it makes sense. Our people will continue to telecommute and work at home. We're doing all that. That has added some inefficiencies, no question. The biggest area, Joe, that the impact has been relative to the weapons ranges and the DoD travel, social distancing, and other restrictions we're following. And so in our target drone area, our tactical drone area, and our ballistic missile target hypersonic areas, virtually every program has moved to the right now several months because we can't get to the weapons ranges to do demonstration flights or prove out flights on the aircraft or the systems. A lot of that's been rescheduled now for Q4 and Q1, but it's moved to the right. And this has definitely impacted the tactical drone area, specifically, like, for example, Gremlins. I mentioned ABMS, where numerous flights were scheduled for earlier this year in 2020. They've now been moved to late 20 and 21. So that's been the biggest impact to Kratos.
Okay. Now hopefully we can get this under control so we can get back, all of us can get back to normal.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Got significant insight into what Kratos does, its markets, the great opportunities out there. Eric, we appreciate you taking the time to do this CEO interview, and we wish you and the company the best in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for your interest in the company. We really appreciate it here. Thank you very much.
Well, Joe, it's always fun to talk about defense and all these wonderful gadgets and toys that the military is coming up with. I just have a couple of questions. When the company talks about the recapitalization of strategic weapon systems by the United States and its allies for peer and near peer threats, what does that mean?
You're right, Mike. It is really exciting. And basically, over the last 20 years or so, the U.S. defense agencies have mostly concentrated on unconventional warfare, fighting terrorist type organizations. And over that time frame, both Russia and China, our peers, have tested, produced, and deployed more brand new weapon systems than the U.S. And let me just give you a couple of quick examples here about how dated some of the U.S. technology is here. The B-52, which the last one rolled off the assembly line in 1962, still plays a significant role in the strategic bomber force. The U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile system force is old and outdated, although it has been upgraded over time. And this is really what Kratos is helping the U.S. Department of Defense as they switch that focus from that unconventional warfare fighting to more of, the peer and near peer potential, hopefully never happening, but potential battles.
And unmanned systems or drones is a hot space right now. Can you talk a little bit about what Kratos does here and why drones are a key platform for the military?
Sure. So Kratos drones are not what you imagine when you think of a drone. They're high performance, jet powered drones up to 30 feet in length. They produce two types of drones, target and tactical. Target drones, by mimicking the capabilities of the latest Russian and Chinese military jets, enable U.S. forces and our allies to practice engagements against these jets. This is a razor and blade business, with Kratos producing the blades, or target drones, that are shot down in these practice engagements. Tactical drones enable the U.S. Air Force to augment its fleet and warfighting capabilities through programs such as Skyborg and Gremlins, to name just two of the many programs on which Kratos is working. Kratos drones can provide what's called loyal wingman. One man fighter jet can control multiple drones as a force multiplier, or drone swarms, in which hundreds or even thousands of drones overwhelm the opposition. Tactical drones can be used for intelligence gathering, surveillance, or armed missions. A key point here is Kratos drones are affordable. The most expensive is around $3 million a unit, compared to $85 million for an F-35 fighter jet. They're reusable and they're runway independent, meaning they do not need a runway to be launched and recovered. Significantly, Kratos tactical drones are flying today and are already well into Air Force testing. This is why this is such an exciting opportunity for the company.
He seemed very excited about the Northrop Grumman partnership and the several $100 million opportunity for ground-based strategic deterrent and ground-based transport systems. Can you give us some color on this? Is there an opportunity here? Is that built into your model? Just kind of add some color.
Sure. So, as I mentioned previously, the U.S. ICBM force, it's old, it's outdated. The Department of Defense wants to upgrade it, and this is a multi-decade type of an opportunity. Northrop Grumman is the prime contractor, and Kratos is one of the subcontractors here. And Northrop was recently awarded a contract to support the upgrading of what is called the U.S. Air Force Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent Program. Overall, this program had a $238 billion value when first proposed in 2017. So we would expect the ultimate value of this program to even be higher. Now, again, it's a multi-decade type of a program. Kratos has not released information in terms of how big of a potential positive this could be on revenues, but it's a big opportunity for the company, again, as part of the Northrop Grumman team.
And Joe, I tell me if I'm wrong, but I seem to think that the Trump administration was the administration that actually accelerated Pentagon spending, and it seems like the stock price has been a little lackluster, actually trailing off since the election. And I know that there's some budget concerns in terms of funding. Can you just kind of explain what your thoughts are on a Biden administration and whether or not we will see actual spending increases at the Pentagon?
Sure. I think a lot of that will depend upon how and what the ultimate makeup is of the House and the Senate, particularly the Senate, if the Republicans control the Senate. But I think there is broad bipartisan support over time for a lot of these types of programs. Again, if we go back to the drone program, where you can be buying and upgrading your defense for $3 million a drone versus spending $85 million on an F-35, the mathematics work in Kratos's favor. And the other part of that, Michael, is, again, because we have spent the past couple of decades focused on unconventional warfare, a lot of the systems are at the end of their useful life, if not being, moved past their useful life and still being used. So you might not see the same type of growth that you saw under Trump, but I still think, you will see plenty of additional spending here in the Defense Department, even under a Biden administration.
Well, it was a great interview. Thanks, Joe, for bringing them to us. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Michael.
This has been the C-Suite Interview Series, brought to you by Channelchek and Noble Capital Markets. Log in to Channelchek or subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the full catalog of C-Suite interviews and virtual roadshow channelcasts. Register for Channelchek's no-cost premium content and receive notifications of new releases from both series. Thank you for joining us.